Well, I think the best advice I could give to people most likely looking backwards is to not look forward. To not say, I need to get this to be able to get that. I'm not sure my answer will be received well, but I think we need to talk about parents.
Hello and welcome to Dream Secret, a channel where I interview successful people who share the secret of their dream in order to help high school students find their place in life and choose a future career path. I have not been filming any videos for a long time because I tried to find an interesting interlocutor, and it looks like I have finally found one, Mr. Boon, a Deputy CEO of PASHA Holding LLC and Chief People Officer. Thank you for your invitation.
You're welcome,
Mr.
absolutely welcome, Jamil.
It's an honor to meet you. Mr. Adbun, can you please tell our viewers who did you want to become as a child?
Whew. Well, you already sort of raised the bar when you did the introduction with saying that you interview successful people. I still don't see myself as being very successful. I think what I see myself as somebody who tries. Like I try to do my best. If it makes me successful or not, that's just up to other people to decide. When I was younger, I think it was either being somebody in sports, particularly tennis, which I really liked. But at a quite early age, maybe like I was around your age, I also started to read more sort of business books, which is kind of like you don't do that, like I hear you do that as well, on self-help and self-development, and I did that too in a way. But, you know, that makes us a bit different, I guess. But I liked reading biographies of business leaders. So I didn't make a choice then, or was not mindful of having to make a choice. I think that's much more in this generation than it was in my generation at the time. Yeah. But I guess it was a prelude to what type of person I wanted to become, like somebody in business, in a for-profit world, where you like to understand how businesses make money, and then later on have an impact on society overall, and to be somebody who most likely leads in a way, right? In either small or a big way, you don't really get to decide. But I think by reading those biographies about, you know, Lee Iacocca, Roger Enrico from Pepsi, even Donald Trump at the time when he was still in real estate, Steve Jobs, etc. I wanted to be in that type of world. So that's sort of what I promised myself to be. I didn't say like I wanted this particular job at this particular company. I never thought about that. But somebody in business, I think that was something I would look forward to.
Yeah, but did you continue to develop your sports career in any way? You said you like tennis.
Yeah, I did it until I was like 30 years old, but more recreationally. I mean, it was just never, like I was okay in doing it, right? At some point I was thinking, should I maybe become a trainer, or I really liked it. Until I realized that other people were just better at it than I was, in terms of being competitive, that's also okay. And but I also liked the fact that to explain it to other people. So to explain it, but also then to see how teams work together in tennis teams, which I think is not far from what I'm doing today. So in a way, it became a metaphor for how later in life I would make certain choices. So I didn't develop it, to answer your question, no, I did not develop it further. Yeah. I played 3 months ago and then it was before that was 25 years ago, so I really didn't play at all. But no, I think I never left the thinking of what I would like to do in the sports, and I just brought it to the business life.
Right. So when you just began your career, what's one piece of advice that has shaped your journey the most, that's most valuable to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, I think the best advice I could give to people most likely looking backwards is to not look forward. To not say, I need to get this to be able to get that. Because you don't get to decide. You can't look into the future. I think you can only look at backwards to say, was the things I went through, were they the right things? So don't bet on perfect. But the one thing you can decide is the people you work with at the beginning. So, at your age, you'll soon start looking into like internships and traineeships maybe, and or you want to go to this US educational institution, which is like top notch, Ivy League. You can't make all these choices in terms of which companies. I think you can make the choice in terms of the people that you talk to, you interview about becoming part of their team, that at least you look at the manager. Is this manager at least a human being, who I would like to work with, who I can learn something from, not only from the business perspective, but also as a human being. Like you learn from your parents, and you learn a lot from them, but your parents can't do it all by themselves to raise you. They will need some help from other people as well, and people that are early on in our careers, in our lives, so those people we choose to then work with. And I believe you need to give yourself the control of choice. So you need to be able to say, this is an internship, but I really don't like this person I'm talking to. For you to then say, I will not take this internship, although it's maybe nice in a nice company, a nice position, everything looks great. But the person I would be working directly with doesn't feel so good. For you to be able to give yourself control of choice, to say, I will not work with that person, because I do believe, and that's the advice after a very long story I get to, is choose the people early on in your career who you think you can learn from, not only as in terms of content, but also as a human being. I look back and still believe that the way I work today has a lot to do with the lady I worked for in my first traineeship in my career. So I was working for a small firm, internship. I worked with a lady called Maureen. She worked in a certain way, and I really learned from it, and it really became part of my DNA. So the way she had this nice balance between humility and modesty, it's like she was very humble, but she was not modest. And the way she would relate to people, I've learned so much from it. I think I still try to live up to it. So that would be my advice. Give yourself control of choice and pick a human being who you can learn from very early on in life, on both your work, but also about human values.
Yeah, okay. And if you had the chance to start your career all over again, what would you do differently?
Nothing.
Really nothing?
Nothing. No. No, I went
It's really
through...
nice to hear.
No, it's really nothing. I feel extremely blessed about the way I've been brought up, the way I've been, had successes in life and my struggles through life. Like everybody would tell you, I learned more from my struggles in life, business-wise, personal life, than I did from my successes. I learned more from those. And I think I feel blessed. I have a wonderful wife as a partner. She's literally my best friend and the person I feel most connected to and look up to. I have wonderful children. I'm blessed with a healthy body. I keep saying I'm happy because first of all, I woke up this morning alive, which is good, and I'm still here and I feel healthy. So that's not a bad start in life. And my career choices have led me to this conversation with you, right? So that's not bad. So no, I wouldn't change anything.
That's really good to hear, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So how do you think, how can high school students, current high school students, identify their strengths and weaknesses, their passions, to choose a career path that suits them the best? How do they identify it?
So maybe this is what I'm telling my kids. So my kids are between I have 6 kids, and they're between 24 years old and 14 years old. I think the best advice I give them, I'm not sure that's my best advice, but the advice I give them is try to make the choice by yourself. So don't follow me, don't follow your mother, don't follow all your social environment, all the advice that you're going to give. The best advice I can give you is to call deep upon your own courage, have conversations with yourself, read, reflect while reading, think about would this apply to me, and try to, again, give yourself control of choice. Try to make your own choice as much as you can, which I think is extremely hard to do, because like you are part of your environment. Like you know, somebody did talk to you about Ivy League in the US, and somebody did talk to you that MIT is actually quite a, like that's the best institution for you to go to, right? So somewhere that idea found you. I think I use a quote quite often, which is a quote from a poet called Rumi. And I'm not super deep on poetry, but sometimes you do come across literature which like kind of sticks with you. And his quote is, "What you seek is seeking you." So it means basically don't look for things, because things that you will need will find you. It will come in your path. So and that only happens when you have an open mind and that you are not cluttered by opinions about other people. If you have an open mind, keep reflecting and leave opinions as opinions, that's what they are. They're not telling you things to do, but they're opinions of other people. Stay close to your own point of view and make up your own mind. Keep an open mind, and then MIT will find you. Like that idea of MIT being good for you somehow found its way through all the clutter of you should stay in Azerbaijan, you should go to the ADA University, or you should start working for PASHA, etc. Somehow MIT cut through all that noise and found you.
Yeah.
And that's good, but it's only because you reflect and because you read and you wrote a book, and which I find astonishing. How great is that? Which is a gift to other people. You give them the gift of your thoughts. But just try to stay close to yourself, which I think is extremely hard to do in the noisy world we are in today. That's the best advice. At least that's what I try to tell my kids. I'm not sure they listen, but at least I tell them.
Right, but there are also some people that say that when choosing a specialty, the most important thing is passion. And if you're passionate about something, you'll definitely be successful in that field, no matter what field it is. Would you agree with that statement?
You know,
there are also other factors. Were there any
I think so. I think so. So it's hard. It's hard to. I think passion is wonderful. It's you're so blessed if you have a passion for the topic. I also believe we need to think about what we just really like doing. Passion is such a big word, right? Yeah. You need to be passionate. Like, how do you know you're passionate about something if you've not really been part of it? Right. So, for me, baby steps are important. And then, when you start doing, without trying to be perfect, you end up in a world where you actually think, I kind of like being here. I kind of like where I am today. And then maybe that later turns into a passion. So you want to go deep and you want to stay there, etc. But I wouldn't say that passion is something that you decide upon. It's something that, again, that finds you, right? So I think you're fortunate enough to be passionate about something. But I would say don't raise the bar too high. Definitely not when you're in high school. Just explore, try very different things. And then passion might find you. You don't decide upon a passion.
All right. Okay. And in your opinion, what are some key skills and qualities that high school students need to develop now to succeed in the workforce in the future?
I think to develop relationships with other people. So friendships, be part of a community. Know how it feels to be part of a community, but also how to contribute to a community. I think that's important. You know, there's huge studies around why people feel unsuccessful, lonely, not fulfilled, etc. It's in many ways it's because they don't feel part of a community. That could be your family, or the family that you will build, or it's the community that you're part of. Could be your school, could be work, could be sports, could be anywhere. But for you to develop the ability to be part of something, and then to understand for yourself what it is to give to other people, to be part of that community. That's one. I think another one is really around being curious. So I think happy people, in my view, are curious people. They go in with a sense of curiosity, which is different than going in to any situation or discussion with a view, right? Like this is how things should be, or this is how things are. But come in with a sense of curiosity. So I wish you curiosity, right? That's the second one. The third one, if I think, might be to realize that don't take life for granted, right? So you have to be willing to put in your work, your time, your energy, your values, your integrity into work, your family, your community, without expecting anything in return. Mm-hmm. And it's my firm belief that what I put in, I'll get back somewhere, right? So I'll help you, and maybe in 10 years' time, you remember this interview, and I'll be hopefully happily retired or something like that. And then you figure, I talked to this person, this was sort of had an impression on me, and maybe I can do something back, right? I hope that the people that I'm helping now will still remember me with a nice thought, right? Which is a blessing to me. So that energy will somehow find me and then make me fulfilled. So help people without expecting anything in return. So build your ability to be part of a community, develop your curiosity, live with curiosity, and give without expecting anything in return. I think those are the three things that I could mention.
Right. Also, in your opinion, how do you think is important lifelong learning? How much is it important?
Oh, I think it's incredibly important. I think that's a part of the curiosity part. I think if you're curious and you're willing to explore, you're of the realization that change is constant, that there's always new things to learn and there's always new views to discover. If you have that mindset, you will continue to learn. So learning will find you in that sense. Like I learned from this conversation, you learned from this conversation, we both learn. I'm here in Azerbaijan after living in the US and Singapore and Qatar and other places. I learned so much on the street. I learned so much from working with the people that I work with. And I'm, 55 years old currently. Hope to will make it to, I hope to never die. But that's a certainty in life that will eventually will happen. But if I can put it off a little bit longer, that's great. And until then, I think I will learn, because I think I'm of the realization, like I told you, as advice to other people, that curiosity will most likely will keep me vital, and fit and healthy and happy.
But do you think curiosity is something that can be learned, or just it's a trait that has to be since birth?
No, it can be realized, right? So I'm not sure if it's learned or not learned. I think you can, if I can gift something to you out of this interview, which I think is a great initiative that what you're doing, because you are a curious person, is that you keep that muscle, which I call curiosity, for the rest of your life. But you need to realize it, right? You can't, you can unlearn it. You can stop doing it because you think this is how the world works. This is my view and this is how things are, which I think will make an incredibly difficult person to work with and to live with. But as long as you keep realizing that that's something that really helps you and you keep triggering yourself, it will become a habit. It will become part of your DNA. I don't think it's hard to unlearn it, but things could happen to you in life which could trigger you to unlearn it, right? So events could happen in your life which would make you close down a bit. And then if you close down a bit, there's there's a filter that curiosity has to go through, right? And I wish those things don't happen to you, and I hope you keep realizing that curiosity is actually better than any medicine in the entire world.
Okay. And also, Mr. Boon, having worked globally, how do you think students can, right now, how can they prepare themselves for competition in an international job market?
Well, nothing really. I think you can't prepare yourself. What you can do is to... so I sometimes, okay, I'm not sure this is right or wrong, but sometimes I say to my kids, like, life isn't fair. Don't expect life to treat you fairly if you're not willing to put in what your contribution needs to be. So you don't become like, very successful by just lying in bed and waking up at 12 o'clock and do some games and then go back and, after, eating six bags of chips or so. Yeah, you don't, right? You have to put something in. Just your fair share. I think that mindset can prepare you for global. I think being curious can prepare you for global. To be realization that you have to be flexible. I think also strong values such as integrity and so I can debate about what did I learn from my parents, but I think one thing I really learned from my parents is that everybody's equal. Like, you give me your time, which I appreciate. I give you your time, which I think you appreciate. And it doesn't matter who I am or you are. We're both human beings. It's quite a strong fundamental belief. I don't judge people based upon their race, their age, any diversity criteria that you can use. I don't care about your title. I don't care about your wealth. I don't. For me, you're a human being. I think that's the only reason why I could do this type of work. And I think it's a very valuable skill if you go global, because like it or not, I'm a foreigner in this country. Some people like it, some people don't. But I feel like a guest here, and I should honor that part of being a guest, which means I need to adapt. And so being adaptable is a big skill you need to be prepared for global work. I think we're also in a bit of a race. So we all want to race to the top. There's only so many people who can be at the top. There's only so many people we need at the top. So I think we need to work with this mindset that not reaching like what we perceive as the top is sort of overrated. So I think if you and I do a good job by being a very good manager who have the privilege to lead other people, we do a pretty damn good job. It's a pretty good life. If we can combine it with being able to build up a family and still have a strong relationship with our extended family and build our own community, I think we do pretty well. So, don't look at the top, because you never know when or how you will get there. And if you're there, if you're happy, so don't see that as the holy grail. Be adaptable, so be flexible in sort of your environment. Human beings are human beings, and they're all equal no matter what type of criteria that you will use. And maybe the last thing is that, in life, I think we're worthy of having some fun. Like, perfectionism is somehow this big filter that stops us from just realizing that we're actually healthy, and we've had a meal this morning. We have a meal tonight, and we sleep in a bed, and the bed is covered by a nice house, and you're being loved by your parents, and they're still here, and we live in a safe environment. Like, don't think these things are important, and we often take them for granted, and they're absolutely not. Which you will learn if you travel around globally, or you work globally. What you and I have, what happened to us this morning without us realizing it, in a lot of places that's not happening. So we're pretty damn lucky. Yeah. So I realized that maybe sometimes in these interviews you hear, okay, you need to get data literacy and business acumen, and You need to be able to work with AI and all these things I also agree with, like all these things. But they're not fundamental, right? These things like AI, we didn't know about this 3 years ago, right? So now this comes up and all of a sudden we want to be this drone pilot, which is a job we didn't know existed 5 years ago. So the jobs you will prepare for, you think you will prepare for, they won't exist in 10 years from now. So let that sink in. The jobs you are preparing for right now, this job I would like to achieve in 10 years from now, it won't exist in 10 years from now.
But
The jobs that you will have in 10 years from now, they haven't been invented yet. So you can't prepare for something that doesn't exist. So, but you can prepare for being ready for life. And I think many high school students will look at this video and say, what the hell is this guy talking about? But I do believe that that's my vision, that's my view on the world, and that's what I'm telling my kids. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And also, what universal traits should every leader have? What should a successful manager or leader have?
So something that the CEO of PASHA Holding and PMC has a lot of is integrity. I've learned a lot from him. Not because I don't have it, I have it, but to be able to position it and to see it as a way to live a life. So that's the universal trait I've come to realize my entire life, but emphasized here in Azerbaijan is integrity. It's really important. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated yourself. There is no other way. There is definitely no other way. It's one of the things that makes me really proud of working for PASHA. I think, again, these same traits, being able to connect with people and be part of a community and be able to put in your part of the deal. Be curious and being adaptable, being able to give without expecting anything in return. I think that's what I expect of leaders as well. I think they need to work with the realization that being a leader, in particular if they're a leader of people, it's a privilege. It's not something that has been taken for granted. It's not something that gives you permission to do things that aren't in line with integrity. I think of all the work that I do, no matter how global, no matter how strategic, no matter how impactful this might be for the company and therefore maybe also the country, I'm of the full realization that the hardest part of my job is to lead other people. If there's something that wakes me up at night, it's that. And how do I do that better? Because I don't take it for granted. And I wish that every leader realizes the privilege and therefore also the burden on our shoulders.
Yeah. And also what I want to ask is, right now high school students are going through one of the most important steps in their lives. So they are very busy right now with their university applications and others.
Sure.
So, and they tend to sometimes forget about all of these values, about integrity, as you said, as you mentioned, about these traits. So how do you think they should, kind of regain this sense of community, this adaptability, this skills?
Yeah, it's a tough question because I'm not sure my answer will be received well. But I think we need to talk about parents. I think we as parents, so your parents, me as a parent to my children, we need to realize that we need to help you in this world with these choices. Like your context, which I don't know, you're 16 years old and I know nothing about your world, but I can only imagine your world a little bit, that there's a lot of pressure. Like you are in this race with not 1,000 other kids, but 100,000 other kids, right? In your case, particularly because you said I want to go to MIT. Well, you should keep that goal. And from what I gather from getting to know you in the last 30 minutes, is that you have a pretty fair chance of making it. I mean, you're a pretty special person. But I think it's to us parents to push next to all your racing that you're going to do and all these criteria that you'd like to tick box and be part of or make or score 100%, your parents should push you to these values. I think that's the role we sometimes forget, that we need to talk to parents about that particular part of their role. And we sometimes forget because we want our kids to do well, because that's also part of our social network. I also would like to say, like, my child is at, one of my kids is at university, does well. I'm also very proud of one of my kids who is struggling in school. I don't know a finer human being than this one particular son of mine. And I'm extremely proud of it, because he would never lie, he would never steal, he'd be pleasant to his mother, he would talk to me. If there's something that he struggles with, he will share with me, which is, you cannot give me a bigger gift. So it's also our parents getting our values right in the same token to be able to pass it on to our children.
Right.
So maybe a different answer than you were expecting, but
no, that's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Oh, okay, yeah, we need to talk to the parents. Yeah.
Yeah, and to conclude, Mr. Boon, what would be your final advice to high school students? Anything?
Don't forget that this is also a time, this is supposed to be a happy time. Like, and I sometimes feel sorry or bad for your generation, because there's so much pressure on you guys. But there's such a thing as just sports. And there's such a thing as sports and not winning, but enjoying the game. There's such a thing as going through high school and not getting straight A's. But just because you felt you had such a big laugh today, and your relation with your teacher was so fun, and you could relate to them and had some humor and fun. You had this wonderful sports. You met this, person that you like gives you good bumps, and I wish you fun in life. I wish you fun at this particular age, because it's quite a special age. Like, you don't need to provide yet. You don't need to be in love yet. You don't. All these things you just should do later, which you look back later saying these shoulds of the past, things I should have done, they don't exist now. They shouldn't exist, I think. So I wish you a happy childhood. And again, we can talk about AI and your roles and all these jobs and money, and we can talk about all these things, and they're all true. For now, high school students, please, next to all the advice you get from me, from your parents, from your friends, etc., please don't forget to have some fun.
Okay, that also applies to me, by the way.
Very good.
I sometimes forget to have fun.
Yeah, I think it's just, look, it's a special time, and I feel blessed that I think I had a fun childhood in this sense, and I had fun in school, etc. And there were struggles, of course. There were things happening to me that I wish didn't. But overall, I'm happy that and grateful that it was a pretty fun, there was no pressures which you are dealing with right now. I didn't have I didn't have a mobile phone. It didn't exist. We didn't have the notion of a mobile phone. There was no email, right? There was no internet, which I know it feels like you're talking to a dinosaur right now. Which in a way you are, if you talk about these things, but it just didn't exist. We did play in the courtyard. We did ride our bikes through the streets, and if you wanted to talk to somebody, you had to go to their house to drive over and see if they're there, right? So it was very different. I think your generation it's tough to be that unguarded, unconstrained, and without all these impressions and things you have to live up to. But try to see through the noise. Try to at least find a friend. You say, let's just do some stupid things. Let's just go nuts today. Let's have some fun. And if you're able to do that, and still have at home a lovely meal with your parents afterwards and have some fun, and they're not judging you for all the stupid things that you've done that day. And that's a pretty cool day. So don't forget to have cool days.
Right. Thank you very much,
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Boon, for the wonderful conversation. I've gained a lot of valuable information. I hope the audience has as well.
I hope so too.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.